I'll take your calls later in the programme. But first, something a bit lighter. It's something a lot of people are talking about today, actually. It's made one of the front pages. An outraged Tesco shopper has demanded that people wearing pyjamas be banned from the shop after they snapped two women browsing groceries in their dressing gowns. Chris Cook branded the shopper as disgusting when he posted the picture of the women walking down an aisle in the chain's Salford store in pink nightwear and slippers. This was on Facebook. However, other people didn't share Mr. Cook's feelings, and they shamed him for taking photos of strangers who were simply minding their own business, going shopping in their PJs. Well, I want to hear from you this morning. Do you think it's acceptable to go shopping in your pyjamas? You can call me 03459 455 555. Your text to 81333. Start your message with 3CR. You can email me, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk, and you can send your tweets to @TheTimWheeler. Do you think it's acceptable to go shopping in your pyjamas?
The JVS Show.
Call the JVS Show now.
03459 455 555.
The JVS Show.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
I particularly want to hear from you if you're someone who can confess that you have been shopping in your PJs or your dressing gown. And I'll confess my own very dirty secrets. December 1963, oh what a night by the Four Seasons on BBC Three Counties Radio this Friday morning.
This is the JVS Show
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
And still to come this morning, as ever, at 11 o'clock, of course, I'll be taking your consumer calls. And also, this is quite an interesting one this morning. We're going to be talking about a museum in Bonn, which is considering taking the truck that was used by the ISIS fanatic who drove a truck into innocent people in the German Christmas market just before Christmas, end of last year. That truck may well end up in a museum of social history, and I'm very keen to hear from you whether you would go to that museum, whether you want to go and see that truck. Would you understand why anyone would want to see that truck? And you know, we were talking about this morning, and part of me thinks it's almost like going to somewhere like Auschwitz. You know, I've seen these pictures online of people who've gone to Auschwitz and they've taken selfies next to the sign saying Arbeit macht frei, and I've always looked at that and thought, I can understand. I'm keen on my history. I'm really interested in visiting historical places. But if I went to Auschwitz, would I want to take a selfie? You know, do you understand why people do this kind of thing? Or go to Ground Zero. And there'll be loads of people that have been to Ground Zero when they went to New York. And we'll discuss that later on. I'm very keen to know what you make of that story. But first, it's made, I think, one or two of the front pages today. It's a lot of people are talking about PJs in supermarkets. Well, an outraged Tesco shopper has demanded that people wearing PJs be banned from the shop as they snapped two women browsing groceries in their dressing gowns. The picture was taken from behind, so the women had no idea they were being shamed publicly in this way. Chris Cook, who took the photo and branded the shoppers online disgusting when he put the picture on the Facebook page of Tesco, the supermarket. And I understand that Tesco have given some discretion to various store managers that they can ask people not to go into their stores if they're wearing pyjamas or nightwear in any way. And I think the first place they ever banned this was in Wales. There was a Tesco's in Wales where they outright had a ban on people wearing PJs and dressing gowns. And obviously had a problem they thought they needed to address. But I'm keen to hear from you this morning. Do you think it's acceptable to go shopping in your pyjamas? Is that an acceptable thing to do? I am a bit of a hypocrite. I'm a massive hypocrite. And Jonathan takes the mick out of me for this, because if I'm going to Waitrose shopping, and you're going to absolutely hate me. If you don't hate me already, you're going to hate me now. I go to Waitrose shopping a few times a week to pick up bits and bobs. And when I go, I tend to go home first from work, have a bit of a shower, and put on a blazer and a nice pair of trousers, because I like going to Waitrose and having a bit of a shop, and I like feeling smart when I go to the supermarket. However, when I go to Asda, I've been to Asda in my onesie on a couple of occasions. I've been at home in my onesie, pottering about. I thought, oh God, I really need this, I really need that, I really need some milk. And I have got in my car in my onesie and driven down, actually, onesie, this is the image, a onesie and Crocs. I've done a onesie and croc. I think I had socks on as well. Down to Asda for a quick shot. And people don't bat an eyelid in Asda. No one cares. I think they possibly would in Waitrose. That sounds awfully snobby, but I think that's probably the truth. So where do you stand? 03459 455 555. Let me speak to Joel Brackenbury. Joel defended the women who were in their PJs in the supermarket. He found himself Joel, you found yourself, for the first time in your life, your name in the Daily Mail.
Yes, that's right. It was a surprise, to say the least.
Yeah, a bit of surprise. And now you're on the radio. Well, listen, the reason we wanted to speak to you is because I was very interested. A lot of people online were saying, oh, these disgusting women, why do people go out like this? And you defended them, and you were very critical of the guy that took the picture. What inspired you to get involved in this kind of online spat?
It's just something that irritates me. You get people sort of looking down on others. That's something that, I don't know, just gets to me. And, of course, just the fact that he saw these women minding their own business and then decided to secretly photograph them, which doesn't seem right at all.
I get that, and I get the whole thing of taking a picture of someone in public, and it's just not fair. I think it's just not very kind, is my take on it. It's not a very kind thing to do, and I'd like to think we can try and live in a kind society. Do you, though, that aside, do you personally have any slight misgivings about the idea of people going to the supermarket in their dressing gown or PJs, or you couldn't care less?
I couldn't care less. I mean, people have said online, oh, it's unhygienic and things. I can't say that it is. I mean, obviously, if you're wearing a completely foul, stinking pair of pyjamas, that would be the same as if any other clothes were completely disgusting. But these women, for instance, they look completely clean and well-groomed. In fact, they were wearing pyjamas, so I can't see what the problem is at all.
I'm quite a romantic in some respects, Joel, and I for example, I don't know if you ever saw the programme Mad Men, but Mad Men was a very popular programme on TV. It was about the ad industry in the 1950s and 60s, and I'm quite romantic, and I look at the way the women dress and the way the men dress when they go out to the shops in these beautiful hats and these beautiful suits, and the women in these lovely dresses. And I look back at that time, and it was a time of had many social problems, but I look back at it and I think, weren't people so glamorous? And look at us now, slobbing around in our jeans, and even worse now, in our PJs going down to the supermarket. Would you say that the public standards have in some way very much decreased since, let's say, those smart dressed people of the 1950s and 60s?
Well, I'm not sure they have. I mean, Mad Men, of course, it's a bit of a fantasy, but they're also the elite, the richest and the best. You think about it, surely there'll be plenty of people going down to the shops in the 50s and 60s in an old vest and a cloth cap or something.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I as I say, I'm a hypocrite because I've been to the shops in my onesie, and I'm definitely a hypocrite because I do make a judgment in some way about when I see someone in their pyjamas. I've seen that I live very near a school, and I've seen people going to pick up their children in these kind of pyjama trousers, in these big, what are they called, Ugg boots, these big furry boots. I'm looking at my team for some kind of agreement, Ugg boots and these big dressing gowns, and I do think to myself, like, my mum would be disgusted. My mum would never have come to the school to pick me up like that. Does he not think it's a little bit slobby?
Well,
yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do. I can hear it in your voice. You think it's a little bit slobby.
Well, I wouldn't want to say that.
Okay. Well, I think you've said enough with the tone of your voice. Thank you very much, Joel. Joel Brackenbury, who got involved online to defend these women that were snapped in Tesco's in their dressing gowns. 03459 455 555. Let me speak to Yasmin. Morning to you, Yasmin.
Hello, good morning.
Are you like me? Are you a disgusting slob who's been to the supermarket in a onesie or a dressing gown?
Well,